Welcome to the Bounty Park. I'm Tom, and as always, I have my co-host with me, James. And our nerd of the week is the man that gave us just an incredible poster for season 1, Rory Kurtz. How are you doing, Rory?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on this morning.
It's been a pleasure. I mean, it's the final episode, chapter 16, The Rescue. And it is by Peyton Reed, the director. The episode length is 55 minutes if you include the post-credit scene. So we're going to jump into it right away because there's a lot of stuff we have to talk about. And but before we get into the detail, I want you, Rory, to hear your thoughts on the episode and this finale in general.
Well, do I want to avoid spoilers until you get to them in our breakdown?
In the breakdown, you can like maybe mention something,
Sure.
But the breakdown will be the breakdown because we're always going
yeah.
chronologically, people. So you know that if you have watched us before, and yeah.
I think my overall episodes or impression of the episode was that strongest of the season. In my opinion, it was the strongest episode of the season. I think the additional length helped. They were able to slow down the pacing a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking because it actually wasn't that long in the end. If you basically, I think the last 5 minutes or even 6 minutes is the post-credit scene and the credits.
Well, and I might be a little, I might have the wrong impression too, because I actually backlogged the last 3 episodes to watch in a marathon last night. So I guess in my mind, I got the impression I saw a whole film last night before going on the podcast today.
Did you watch it at midnight or just during the day?
No, it was last evening here at probably started around 10 o'clock. So it had already dropped.
Okay. Because
I
heard there were some problems with the servers over at Disney. So.
Yeah, no, fortunately everything moved.
Great.
Yeah, flawlessly on mine. So I started with the episode, The Tragedy, and then worked my way from that point all the way up. So my whole introduction of Boba Fett's return, all the way up to the finale all happened in one sitting last night. So that was really a great way to do it.
Having that, since you could basically avoid spoilers then, or how was it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I knew, Bubba showed up, but I didn't know how he would be revealed and what capacity he would be used in the episode and whatnot, And then I heard some rumblings. I heard the Razor Crest, met its demise,
Okay.
But I didn't know how. So you can't avoid spoilers on a show like this. It's a weekly format. It's out there,
Yeah, it was crazy because I was yesterday when I watched it early in the morning. It comes out here in Germany at 9 a.m. Since it's 12 a.m. midnight on the Pacific coast. So it's the perfect timing because I had a class which I finished at 10. So I was done with the class. It was digitally, so I could basically after that I could just head to the couch and watch it. So that was kind of a good feeling about it.
Oh yeah.
James, how about you? How were your thoughts on the last episode?
Wow, what were my thoughts?
Yeah, we talked right.
Is that enough? Is that okay? That's my thoughts. My thoughts are gone now because my head exploded. So.
Yeah, we're gonna find out more about those thoughts maybe later when we put.
It's gonna. I'm sure you guys would agree. I mean, it was a big episode. I think that I'll be thinking about it for a while, trying to sort out.
Yeah,
my impressions on it.
The thing is, I heard different people that have been on this podcast who really hated it. And
really,
yeah.
Really,
I don't want to point people out here, but
but hate's a strong word.
he actually said hated it.
Wow. Okay. Well,
he. Yeah, he.
He said he.
Yeah, we had only one. We only had one woman on. Shout out to Eileen on this case, and she also said. By the way, Eileen also said she sent me on WhatsApp. She sent me a message, basically saying, I hated it, and then she was crying, and I was oh my god, oh no. But yeah, it was for different reasons though.
Yeah,
there's more to it than Grogu.
Yeah, I think like
she needs to accept.
Did she hate the episode, or did she hate the feelings it leaves you with at the end? You know, like
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
those are two
I think
separate
it was
things, like James said.
I think it was the feelings, yeah. But the other person I have not mentioned, he really hated it in terms of storytelling and that it was such a fan service. But we're gonna get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
I know who that is. I know who that is.
Yeah, I know. There's only one person who can be.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And he's represented in this room, but I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah, he's represented in this room as well.
There's a lot of art behind you guys, so it's hard to say. Wait a minute. Oh, I think I know this now. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but let's get into it. First of all, we're gonna go, as I said, chronologically, and the beautiful scene starts out with the hunt for Pershing. And the hunt for Pershing reminded me a lot when the Slave One hunts the Imperial Lambda shuttle that we know from Vader and the Emperor and stuff like that. And they hunt that shuttle, shut it down with the ion cannon, and are ready to board the ship. Reminded me a lot of when Obi-Wan was pursued by the Slave One, in that sense, in Attack of the Clones. And yeah, do you guys had any feelings? Because I really love those scenes where Boba's flying, because he's a very good pilot. Also, Razor Crest flying was always great, and I love that they included more of that in the second season. Rory, you can always start out, and James is gonna.
Oh, I love the piloting episodes and seeing Boba in the seeing Mando in the ship flying. Yeah, I have to think about that for a minute and see where, how I feel about that compared to the trilogy films, which have much more dynamic dogfighting scenes with their ships. And I mean, especially like you referenced Attack of the Clones, like those scenes are bombastic.
Yeah.
In the ships. I feel like Mandos are always brief and reserved.
That's true.
Dogfighting scenes.
But I'm glad that they actually put some in. James, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just really pleased to see the shuttle. Like, that's probably my favorite ship in all of Star Wars, weirdly. Like the white.
Really?
Yeah, I love the look of that.
Yeah.
No, not Slave One, the actual shuttle.
Slave One, yeah. The Lambda shuttle. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's the one. Mm-hmm. Like, look at it. It's gorgeous. Look at it.
Looks a little bit like a catfish, doesn't it?
Yeah, flying through the air.
Yeah, like a big fish roaming the wide ocean, like the Persian whales kind of taken away. Ezra and Thrawn at the end.
Got the flat nose to it,
Yeah,
like a shark.
That opens up and
yeah, but they look cumbersome. They don't look very fast. I mean, it's definitely a transport ship.
Exactly.
Like the arms kind of fold up though, don't they? So you I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they kind of used that again, didn't they? They referenced that in the sequels with Kylo's ship. They had the one that had the flappy down arms.
The gull wings, yeah.
Yeah. But no, just to see that again was fun for me. And then obviously using that one to then go into the next ship was a really cool scene.
Yeah, I love the part when they appeared right in front of the cockpit of the shuttle. I think that looked really like overwhelming on the shuttle in that kind of sense, on the transport shuttle. I think that was really cool. And yeah, as you mentioned, James, they boarded the ship, and the interesting part in that scene was for me that this one guy basically says, "Yeah, I don't have anything to do with this, and I don't want to be part of this," and the other guy's like, "Well, F you." And then he gets shot. I think it was really interesting in terms of the whole scene, how it plays out, what this guy or what the Empire still means to people, and what kind of false hope kind of is brought into that scene, going along the lines of what we seen last week from Valen Hess when he was talking about the way the Empire wants order and all of that, which was one of my favorite scenes, and. That was really great to see. I was joking around with a friend of mine, with Mark Hype. He's our first guest on the show, and because he was like when we were talking about the scene, and he was like, yeah, it's all mega in terms of make the Empire great again, and we had a little fun with that. I wish I could see some mega heads now.
Wow. Yeah, that opened up a can of worms here in the U.S. right now. If you did that.
Get them in the store, Rory. Get them in the store.
I mean, but you're right about what you said in the last episode. He directly referenced a return to order, and that people would welcome him with would welcome the Empire with open arms, you know, and it didn't escape my notice, you know, the pretty strong, you know, metaphor that was being, you know, put on the screen in front of me for at least some of what we hear a lot of in the U.S., you know?
Yeah. James, how did you like the scene?
Yeah, it was nice. It's yeah, sort of backing up that transition that we're sort of seeing from, you know, there was the one guy who on one hand had maybe lost faith with the Empire, you know, they've just like lost a huge battle supposedly, and then you've got this other guy who's absolute, and he's picking off this guy who's like, you know, for the greater good and all that.
Yeah.
So we're definitely sort of discovering this ascension of the new order and stuff like that.
And I was wondering if this is going to be a thing for all the hardcore nerds out there, getting a rebel sign teardrop tattoo. Who's going to do that? Rory, are you going to do that?
No, that's pretty extreme. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got some ink on me, but I can't put any on my face.
Okay, you do? You do? What do you have, by the way?
I've got a design on my bicep that I put on there when I was in my early 20s.
Is that by yours? You know? Did you design it yourself?
Oh yeah. No, I designed my own. Yeah.
Okay.
And I never went back. You know, they told me, oh, once you get a little ink, you're going to want a lot of ink. But no, that was enough. I was happy with what I got, and I still am. So I'm done. So no rebel teardrop for me.
Yeah, I mean the rebel teardrop story was kind of cool, and the way how this pilot taunted Cara Dune in that way, I think that was really interesting.
Brutally taunted her. Yeah.
I loved the jokes as well when it's like, yeah, which Death Star?
Yeah. Oh, and I knew she was gonna pop him the minute he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
I'm like, she had a gun on him the whole time, you know, aimed at him. Like it felt like he was asking for it. You know what I mean? I didn't understand why he taunted her so directly, knowing she could just pull the trigger and waste him.
But I have to say, with the Mando, he was like, when she walked out, like she basically popped him, and Pershing was like screaming in agony, and then she walked out, and the Mando's like, wait a minute, what just happened? It seemed like he couldn't believe it.
That she just executed him, essentially. You know,
well, I guess she's kind of supposedly representing the New Republic,
exactly.
Right? So he probably wouldn't expect like for that kind of violence to come from a ranger or wherever she is now.
But that's a soft spot. Putting the finger into the wound.
Yeah. Well, he brought up Alderaan, you know.
That's true.
Alderaan, you know, he signed his own death warrant.
That was the trigger word. That was literally the trigger word.
Alderaan. Yeah, so that was a great scene. We all have to agree with that. I like that. And then we actually see a planet. We don't know which one. It's never said, really. There's some bunch of refineries going on in the background. And then we see the Slave One landing next to the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is known from Clone Wars and I think Rebels as well. I'm not sure if it wasn't Rebels, but Clone Wars definitely. And it's the ship of Bo-Katan, obviously. So I love the design of it. There's probably going to be some new toys out that people will have to look at that. And I think that was really great. And then it was like right on my lips. To Mandos walking to the bar. To Mandos walking to a cantina. So who's going to finish the joke? Yeah, I don't know either. But it's like, I thought it was like immediately popped right in my head. This kind of image, you know? I don't know how it was for you, like seeing this this kind of synchronicity they had and the way they walk in formation, like soldiers, like they're of the same kind. And I think it was interesting to see. Rory.
Look like two killer hitmen, man. Like they just look really badass together. And it reminded me of that moment in the last episode when Bill's character saw Bubba coming off the ship and was like, "Oh, I thought you were someone else for a minute."
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
freaked
that's
me out. And then you see Mando march down with his chrome dome on. I think they're just great moments. Like I hope that we get to see the two of them armored up together much more in the future.
Yeah, we will definitely touch upon that later because that's definitely a point that I kind of felt left out with, but we will touch upon that later. Yeah, the Mando, he wants help, of course, by Bo-Katan because they kind of like left it in episode 5 or 4 when they kind of like first met that they're gonna help each other out at some point, and yeah, and they have like a nice conversation about what is going on there, and then in terms of what they want, and she doesn't believe, Gideon, you can't get in there, and then he basically says, hey, I've got the coordinates, and she's like, oh well, let's go then. And but the more interesting part, which leads us to the post-credit scene in the end, is the talk that she has with Boba, because Boba didn't say anything, so she definitely didn't recognize the armor in that sort of sense, I would say. But when he starts talking, she recognizes the voice, and she also mentions that later on in the talk, and I think she calls him out straight away. He's not a Mandalorian, and I think that's really interesting. Rory, what is your thought on it? Is he a Mandalorian or not?
I'm not as familiar with his history in any of the early canon stuff pre J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy. So I'm not sure but I know that he survived the Sarlacc pit and had more adventures, after that, even in the past, iteration of the Star Wars universe. But I don't know his history well enough to say, one way or the other. And I also didn't watch much of the Clone Wars series, so I didn't understand Bo-Katan's sort of animosity towards clones. Like I only have, a passing knowledge of that. So maybe James has more insights he would share.
I also didn't watch that much Clone Wars either.
Some experts I picked.
Well, but I watched a few of those like YouTube catch-up episodes that they stick on, especially for me, like these kind of people that are like, oh, there's a new character. And yeah, I don't know, it's interesting, the different ideas of Mandalore. There's a lot of like squabbling.
I thought he had stolen the armor. That was my misconception, was that Boba had stolen the armor I knew he was never a Mandalorian himself, but I thought I remembered it as him having stolen it.
I mean, we touched upon that in the episode where it was the tragedy, basically, when he gets his armor back. We touched upon that, and it says when you see the Mando eye pop up from his armor, it basically tells the story of Boba, that he was a foundling, that his father is Jango Fett, and his master, or his like kind of like leader, was Castor Jarrell Castor. I think Castor Jarrell was. And and they fought Jango fought in the Mandalorian Civil War or Galactic Civil War in the end as well, and that's where it all comes from. And so because his faction was against what the Death Watch was doing, and so they kind of basically kind of have this kind of thing going on, that because I think the story goes on even well that Jango killed Tar Vizsla, which was like the one, like the Favreau. Favreau was also on Clone Wars. He was one of Mandalorian there, and it's like his like father or whatever, and from this clan, definitely Clan Vizsla, and so this kind of all like kind of connected. That because Bo-Katan was with Death Watch for a long time, and then she got back, so that's why she also mentioned this kind of, they called it the cult, because she knows actually what she's talking about, and that's kind of like interesting to see, and this back and forth, calling him a joke or a disgrace, and that his father is not his father, it's just a donor, and and I love it that this fight broke out then between Cosca Reeves, who basically calls him as well a sidekick. The sidekicks are allowed to talk, and he's like pretty badass walking up to her, and then we get a
that was a great fight. It was a great little mini beatdown between the two of them, and
Yeah.
I like that he had the upper hand in the beginning, and then she took it right back from him at the end.
Yeah, there was some really cool fight scenes. I love the jetpack like whirl around move.
Yeah, and was it me? Am I remembering this right? Did their flamethrowers cancel each other out?
Yeah, basically.
Did they try and flamethrower each other at the same time?
Yeah, they did.
Only in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try that in real life. I'm pretty sure you can't stop a flamethrower with another flamethrower, but that's just, my limited science.
Yeah.
The fire services have been doing it wrong all this time. They should be firing fire on our fires.
Yeah, it's not the Force here. So yeah, but I think it was a cool scene to look at it, and then the Bo-Katan actually calls them out. Basically, hey, we should have fought like that for Mandalore, and we would never have lost it, because basically Boba says Mandalore, that piece of glass, because the Empire swooped in and basically shot everything with this energy or plasma beams, that the whole surface of the planet melted. That's why he called it a glass, and it's like really, really interesting that there's a lot of inside information on what happened to Mandalore, which probably comes in season 3, which we will discuss probably later. But my question here in this case was, wouldn't Boba Fett kick her ass? I'm sorry, she's basically a youngling. Thoughts on that? Who should have won?
He's a little long in the tooth now. He's getting a little older.
Okay. James?
A little bit of extra weight, that's probably what took him down at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been out of practice. He hasn't had his armor in, decades.
Yeah. It shouldn't be that much. I think it's just about 6 or 7 years.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Decades for the actor.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, still great fight. Loved it. And they strike a deal, which is basically very foreshadowing for the finale. When I watched it the first time, because I was so excited, I didn't notice. But when I watched it the second time, I could see what this was all about and what they focus on. Did you have the same feeling when you watched it beforehand, or were you excited as me where you couldn't see it?
James, how about you?
I was just excited.
Yeah.
That
likewise.
was it.
Okay, that's the secret notice here. If Corey says, James, how about you?
No, I didn't see it as foreshadowing. I mean, I've known that Bo's been obsessed with getting that saber back, but I didn't see it as though it were going to be an issue later between her and Mando. Which it clearly is going to turn into. I
didn't mean the issue. I meant more like, because this strike a deal, you come with me and we free Mandalore. This is basically what he's doing now, or that's probably his goal now. But yeah, we touch upon that later. And we can see the desperation of Din in that case, where he's like, basically, I don't care, whatever. I don't care about any creed, clan, whatever I can have. I just want my kid back. And this feeling, I mean, have you ever been in a situation where your kids, I assume you have kids, right?
No, I don't. I'm without kids.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, I can. We can't answer that, but because we had a couple parents here, and I wondered how like this feeling, how strong this kind of feeling is if something feels kind of wrong, to go after, like pursuing this kind of thing. But yeah, moving on from that, we have the basically the lay of the land, the plan, how to get on board and everything. We have like lots of digital displays there, and we have Dr. Pershing helping out. Dr. Pershing shows where the Dark Troopers, the MK3 Dark Troopers, aka
a little too willingly. A little too willingly. Do you notice how he just sort of folded like a cheap suit really quickly?
Yeah, but what are your thoughts on that? Why would he do that?
I just thought it was sloppy writing.
He's just meek. He's obviously, they've like made him a meek character.
I don't think so.
Information at any point to help the story along.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just think he's basically employed by the Empire. For example, like in Rogue One, like you have Mads Mikkelsen's character. Basically, he's forced to do something. I mean, we know he has something to do with the Kaminoans. He's a cloner.
Yeah, he's a cloning scientist, isn't he? I guess he's not like part of the Empire.
he's not part of the Empire. So I mean, he's basically in it for the research. So why? Like, I don't
Still
know.
be a little bit worried that the Empire was then going to get on his back once they found out. You're like, I'd probably want to keep things a little bit quiet.
I mean,
he could have lied, and
he has seen how the Mando took care of like a whole battalion of troopers in chapter 3 when he took back the child, and then he throughout Gideon was always like, had always trouble with him. So maybe he definitely made the right choice.
Well, and I also think that, like, there's a very strong scavenger hunt type storytelling format for most Star Wars films. You know what I mean? And so I think, that they don't have enough time sometimes to have characters become obstacles in the scavenger hunt. Like they just got to keep the pace. They got to keep moving the story forward, So yes, of course, Boba immediately at the end of episode, was it 5 or 6, was like, oh yeah, I'm going to help you wherever you go and whatever you're doing now, I'm on your side. We're like just 25 minutes beforehand, he had a rifle aimed at Grogu, from across the ravine, ready to pop him if Mando didn't give him his armor back right away. Like, yeah. I mean, the story just, changes as necessary. Like, characters' allegiances change really rapidly to facilitate the movement of the story, in my opinion.
Okay. I counter argue that because I think it's about more about the basically attack the honor of a Mandalorian. They are very honor based. They do what they like. If they say something, I'll do it. They do it, and they have it trained. If like basically shit hits the fan, they have something a plan. But he's basically, let's talk. Okay, so they talk. And that was really, I think that was interesting because he made a deal and he honored his deal for such a long time. And I think that shows also what we see in episode 2 when Din strikes a deal with Pelimoto, taking on the Frog Lady and taking her eggs to safety and always like protecting the eggs, getting her to the planet.
But did he protect the eggs?
Yeah, that's something else though. But
eggs.
he did get her there. He did get her there.
Yeah, got her there. Okay, yeah.
And
right.
She basically says the same. Hey, I thought you're Mandalorian. I thought you're basically honor means something to you. And I think that's the same thing we see here with Boba.
I think you're both right. I think they've built in the honor thing to help what Rory was saying, in like that you can bring a character in. That honor is a good device for someone to be like, okay, I'll use my honor, and then they can get the story moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of moving the story, we're getting to the scene where we're gonna approach Moff Gideon's cruiser, and that was one of the coolest parts in terms of design and the way they portrayed it was the TIE fighters. The TIE fighters flying out. First off, when we look at the long launch pad and see the TIE fighter coming in there, just a very, very narrow space. And I think that's a theme throughout the whole of this episode. We have it's very claustrophobic in a sense. There's no other way to go, only one way, and that's really interesting. And we see that in the design of that launch pad as well. We see the TIE fighter, we see this narrow, long launch pad, and I loved it how it shot out and how cool that looked. And I think that was just really, really exciting to me to see that. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, the TIE Fighter is my favorite ship.
Okay.
TIE Fighter, without a doubt, it's my favorite ship of the Star Wars universe. So I'm always thrilled to see him pop up.
Just a TIE Fighter, or any kind of TIE Fighter?
Any TIE Fighter. Any TIE Fighter. I like the aesthetic of it a lot. Mm-hmm. I loved it in the First Order when they put like the red stripe over it and gave it that kind of like race decal. I just think they're really badass ships, and I thought, the launch mechanics of them in that episode that they just showed us were really a unique approach. Normally, you just see them going out a giant garage door off into space, but this time having the claw sort of drop them and drag them and then launch them out, I thought was really great. And then seeing the cruiser come in, that whole sequence was something you'd expect to see in one of the films.
Yeah,
It's it proves how the show's really innovative and really going the extra mile to give us a cinematic experience, out of the series.
Yeah, we also see Boba making a very fast exit there, and then we have a scene where the Lambda shuttle, with their wings folded up, gets into the launch pad, like crash lands there, and that is also it was in, I think it was in Battlestar Galactica, where Katie Sackhoff has a kind of similar scene to this. So just a little hint, because she was flying the shuttle there as Bo-Katan, and Katie Sackhoff, the actress, and she did that in Battlestar Galactica as well, I think. And that was like a little fun fact. I don't know if they wanted to put it that way, but I think that it was kind of fun to see. And we have them coming out. Basically, the stormtroopers approaching into like it's fog or whatever, smoke comes up. We can't see anything. And this reminded me when the stormtroopers got killed of not Empire Strikes Back, Episode 1. Where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, where the door opens and you can see the droids, Roger, Roger, and then they come out and then they kill the droids. I think that was kind of like very cool to see. Do you guys have the same feeling there? And how do you feel about the action that followed?
James, you want to go first?
Okay, James. Okay, James.
I liked it. It's good.
Okay.
It was just it's stuff we've seen before, but just really polished.
I agree exactly. That's where I was going to go with my response too. I feel like the blaster fights down the hallways have just gotten really formulaic for me. I mean, it was well done. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't. The stormtroopers are never going to land a shot. You know what I mean? And that the rebels are going to just lay waste like a lawnmower.
Yeah, I love, by the way, though, that the basically drop kick, the jetpack drop kick, the rocket punch.
Yeah, that was pretty badass. Yeah,
that was pretty dope. And then we have the guys we've seen in the tragedy before, the Dark Troopers, show up. How do you guys feel about how they were presented? I think the Skrillex type dubstep trap music was very menacing, and the way they look very intense in that sort of sense. And I love the way in the end of the scene when they reveal it, like moving up the body, and then you can see the eyes and the red light comes in, a lot like Vader getting on his helmet, and it pops on.
Do you guys remember what was that journey to? It was like I think it was a Disney film, Black Hole.
Yeah,
it's called Black Hole. Who is the evil robot in that one with like the propeller hands?
I know what you're saying, but I don't know the name. I forgot.
Yeah, like it reminded me a bit of that robot, like the overall shape of it and the menacing quality of it. I thought they were great. I mean, they seemed like Terminators. I mean, like they just seemed indestructible in a very practical, real world way. Yeah. They didn't feel too CGI. I mean, I'm sure they were entirely CGI'd, but they didn't feel that way. The light reflections and the weight that they had on screen, like you felt like these would be impossible to destroy. And the way Mando could barely handle one of them, you know what I mean? Like he was, doing his best to survive just one encounter.
Yeah, we're going to touch upon that in a second here. I also love the way the Dark Troopers were introduced, and then we get to the bridge scene, which because you mentioned you didn't like you have seen the action. I think it was very useful what they did with the troopers on the bridge, where they had where they first of all like the Cara Dune and what's her face Fennec Shan. They ran over the bridge, and the others ducked down into like underneath with the jetpacks. And then the stormtroopers came from behind, and they popped up and shot everybody. I think that was really cool, looking at the atmosphere and like seeing people falling down into space, basically. So we have like kind of this backdoor when the Dark Troopers come back, and I think that was really well done and interesting. And also the highlight, speaking of action scenes, the highlights of basically Fennec Shan when she basically high kicks and like chops people up and does some cool shooting. I think that was original, and I think that also is kind of like to show what kind of badass she is. in terms of season 3. So yeah, we will see where this is going to go. I really enjoyed it, and I don't know if I mentioned it in the other episode before, but I told you guys that the main actress Ming-Na Wen is 57 years old, and she doesn't look 57, but it's like, I don't know, it's like crazy. I'm still amazed by her skills and what she can do. Probably she didn't do like the flying roundhouse kicks, but because like I have a screenshot of it and it doesn't look like her when I stopped it at the right moment. But yeah, it's still impressive. What
I refuse to believe that, Tom. I refuse to believe it.
Okay, it's fair.
Everything in this is real, right? Come on.
How did you guys like the way that we see the Mando sneaking off, getting all the job done, and then gets to the door? This final scene where we see the hands and entering the basically the area with all the dark troopers, and the hands grab the door like in Terminator.
Oh, he knew what was coming. Like, he was racing to shut that door as fast as he could. He knows how dangerous those machines were going to be, and I feel like for the first time there was like a crack in his facade of cool in battle. You know, because you get the sense from Mando whenever he's in battle, he's got that lone gunman attitude. You don't see any expression on his face through his helmet. You just see a totally cool and composed badass. But in that moment, he was honestly almost comically racing to shut that door. He was so scared of what was going to come out the other side, and it didn't disappoint. Like, what came out the other side was pretty damn harrowing.
And I also think it reminded us a lot of his journey in terms of what his relationship with droids is, and what he has seen, especially when they bang against the door later on, and when they bang against the windows. That's what he was like when the droids were coming close on him when he was a child, before the Mandalorians found him. And I think that was really interesting in that kind of sense, and I really enjoyed that. And like the pounding he took. How strong is Beskar, please?
Damn. Oh, when he was punching his head into that wall.
Yeah, right? And you can but the helmet didn't move. I mean, the helmet didn't move at all.
It didn't crack. But oh man, it was brutal.
I wondered about the visor. The visor is not Beskar. How you cannot look through Beskar. How did this hold?
Star Wars magic.
Star Wars, the Force.
That's the magic of Star Wars.
But yeah, it was some really, really scary fighting. That the Terminator style beatdown, and when he sent out the whistling birds, which are made of pure Beskar, which I wondered though, why didn't what material is the Dark Trooper made? It cannot be pure Beskar, because we see what a lightsaber can do. It cannot be. It can only be half Beskar or something like that. That it has the fact, because we see like him shooting at it and bouncing off, and I wondered, but nobody has an idea probably, right? We can still
the Empire wonder. Went for cheap knockoff Beskar. Really? They bought it on eBay.
It's wish Beskar, or what?
Yeah, they're still trying to get their funds, aren't they? After the second Death Star went down.
Yeah, they're in a little bit of a recession at this point financially. Yeah, as you said, they took a bath on that last Death Star, so everything's pretty much vacuum formed from this point forward until we get to the First Order. You know. Yeah,
I loved also that when he pulls up the Beskar spear and like chops his head off basically with it. That was a really cool and fun scene, killing this droid, and then we have the great alien moment. And also, what was it? Revenge of the Sith, or somewhere was also, or was it Episode 1 also, where they have droids and they open up the space doors, basically the blast doors, and like they get sucked out, and it's kind of same here. And I think that was really really fun to see. How do you like the way that they handle it? Did you think that this is it?
Yeah, initially I was really kind of pissed off. Because I was like, that was awesome, and then gone. It didn't like figure in my head that these things can actually fly. You know, I was just like, that was awesome. They've cut them out now, because it had such a massive build up over the past 3 episodes. And I was like, they did another Alien reference, and now they're gone.
Yeah, Rory.
I'd only watched the episode once. It's hard for me to process something while I'm watching it. You know what I mean? So like the first time I'm seeing it, like I'm just an open-eyed receptacle for the dazzle of it all. You know what I mean? And I'm just allowing myself to really just enjoy it without thinking about what I'm watching too much. It's not until the second or third viewing of something that I'm starting to analyze, like, is what I'm seeing good storytelling, or what does this plot point really mean in the future, et cetera, you know? So the first time I'm watching it, you know, I'm just enjoying it as much as I can, you know? And normally you're getting, you know, there's a subconscious reaction happening, even if it's your first time watching it, whether it's good storytelling or bad, like, you know what I mean? You can, you know, but when I saw the storm, or the new troopers, or, you know, the Death Troopers,
Dark Troopers.
Yeah, Dark Troopers sucked out the pod door, it just felt like, yeah, that's just what they do in science fiction films. You know what I mean? Like, you know, open the docking bay, suck them out into space. You know, like, it's, you know, if you were to go into the cinematic equivalent of space right now, imagine all the shit flying around out there. You've got aliens, you've got troopers, you've probably got Harrison Ford, you've got like all sorts of crap that's been sucked out of bay doors into space in these films, you know?
Yeah. Got a great unlicensed print idea right there, Rory.
A way to sort of bring all these films together, you know,
like bits of other things floating around, like
that have all been blown out the cargo hold.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, the moment I saw that, when I saw it the first time, I was like saying out loud, "That was easy," and I was like, because I couldn't believe that it was like really done, But yeah, moving on from that, then we have the thing that we have been waiting for a long time, because we all knew it's going to happen. The Mandalorian Din Djarin is going to face off with Moff Gideon. We see him holding the Darksaber over Grogu, which looked really cool and menacing. And I have to give it to Giancarlo Esposito. He is just the man of villain monologues. Was that great, or was it not great?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, no, I vote great.
I vote great.
Yeah, after a lot of consideration, huh?
Yeah, it was almost like very good / great, but I've gone to great.
Oh, okay.
But
fair.
I mean, like, the fact that he was able to sell to Din that he was going to let him walk away with the child, you know, and for a second, I even believed it for a moment. I'm like, oh,
yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, I get it. He's a pragmatic villain. You know, he's not going to risk himself for something he doesn't need anymore. But
exactly, that would have been clever. Come on, I expected that from Gideon. But yeah, and he turned out to be a backstabber in a literal sense.
Shocking all of us. You know, I don't. You never know someone, right? You never really know someone.
Yeah. And then, he stabs him in the back, literally. And but Beskar, thank God, Beskar. We can see finally what the Beskar does. I mean, they talk about the Darksaber in terms of that it can like cut through anything. And then earlier on in the conversation with Bo-Katan, but it cannot cut through pure Beskar, and that was really interesting to see. And we had some really cool fighting going on by Gideon and the Mandalorian until he like basically found his footing, and then he grabs his spear, which we've seen coming since he got it. And that was interesting. We had a lot of cool fighting. But do you guys think the spear would have been cut at some point?
James, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you mean by cut?
Like, I mean, we can see how it basically the metal starts to glow. You know.
Oh, okay. No.
Rory?
It's Beskar. No, it's not gonna.
Yeah. Come on.
It's the real deal.
It's the real deal.
The real deal, man. This isn't that cheap Amazon foreign-made knockoff.
Beskar, it's not Beskar.
Yeah, well, I don't think
it was
so.
good to see it glow. Like I liked I liked that they showed that it wasn't this completely incredible. Like there was some risk involved. There was some, can't think of the word, but
Yeah, no, I agree completely with what you're saying, James. I was just thinking the same thing. Like the fact that it glowed put an element of danger into the fight, that like this thing could fail if put under enough stress. You know what I mean? Like that dark saber could eventually cut through it if given enough time. So it lent a sense of urgency to Mando's movements. Like don't wait too long, blocking something, because that could, give that sword an in.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think that the time component is very important here when it comes to like if he probably would have held this position longer at the same spot, it probably would have been cut. But I mean, Pedro Pascal has been the Viper in Game of Thrones, and he knows how to fight with a spear, which is really cool. But by the way, another great Game of Thrones reference is when he gets punched in the face. It's basically when he fights the mountain and like his face gets bashed in. But thank God this time he has a Beskar helmet.
I got to ask though, what do you guys? Who do you think's under the helmet during some of those fights? Do you think that that's Pedro actually doing the spear work at all? I mean, because he did do it in Game of Thrones. He did a bunch of that himself.
I think he did this scene in particular. I think he did it himself. But otherwise, I think the action scenes is doing Scott Eastwood and somebody else. They have two different ones. But I mean, we will know on the 25th when the making of comes out, probably.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see. And Din beats Moff Gideon finally, and then we see how he gets back to the bridge. And I loved the face of Bo-Katan. Oh, finally, hey, you're back. And then she looks down to his right, has this beautiful darksaber in his hand, and she's like, what? No. And then I love the way how Gideon is basically like, well, you're all fucked now because you have to fight. I think that was
I didn't get that at the time. I was, obviously just like really confused, like why she was looking so stunned.
Yeah. I mean, it is explained afterwards for everybody. So, but are we going to see this fight in season 3?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why else would they drop such a big nugget?
Okay.
I don't think season 3. I think they're going to build up to it for. Well, I have a theory about season 3. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Yeah.
Talk about that stuff too. But yeah, they're going to fight.
Okay. Who's going to win though? If they would fight.
The show's not called Bo-Katan.
But Mandalorian. She's a Mandalorian.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Got you there.
She's not a true Mandalorian. Din said it. She has no honor. She took off her helmet when they first met.
Oh, he's just a cultist. He doesn't know anything. But yeah, that was a fun scene.
What do you think, Tom? Who do you think's going to win that fight?
Come on, it's his show basically, but which could move though, and if I think they will find another way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, basically, he wants to give it to her, and he yields and everything. But I mean, if he wanted to, he could basically just they could fight, and then I lost, you won. Well,
why can't he fight someone else like for the saber, like kind of lose on purpose?
Yeah, I mean, you could lose on purpose now.
Use that person as an in-between, and then Bo-Katan can slice that person down.
No, I don't think they can. I think the whole point of it is, it's symbolic, right? Like
that's what they say.
And I think she acknowledges that like it wouldn't be true combat unless it were sincerely, at odds with each other. Like it can't be pageantry, what I mean, or else it would have no point. Like it has to be real.
Yeah, because if you didn't fight for it, you're an imposter basically for the Mandalorians in that case, because they are based, they are the warrior based race, and they want to fight. It's their creed. It's what they do, weapons and all of that. And yeah, if you don't fight for it, you're an imposter, and nobody will follow you, and you can't lead the Mandalorians to glory.
Tom, am I right in thinking that she, like when she had it before, she took it, she didn't fight for it?
No, I don't think so. I think she fought for it.
I thought someone said like, oh, she might be doing this because she's learned a lesson from when she took it from someone before.
I'm not sure. I think
Clone Wars.
I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else died and not in a fight, or I don't remember, because I think it happens in Rebels when she finally has it in the end, and then she loses.
Did she take it from Sabine?
I don't think so. I think it was in a fight, but I'm not sure. But Sabine had it for a long time, and then Bo-Katan had it. But as I'm doing a Rebels rewatch right now, but I'm not there yet. But when I am, I will definitely add it to the comments, just for clearance.
Just you typing into the comments for yourself, and then
Exactly. People, I found out. I know you've been waiting for such a long time. But yeah, the Dark Troopers make a comeback, like the hammer drones from Iron Man 2. How do you like the Iron Man reference?
Yeah. Man, those hammer drones don't have nothing on these troopers. Those hammer drones were a joke. But these troopers are the real deal. When they came flying back, then I was impressed. I'm like, yeah, now it makes sense. Like, you can't just blow these guys out a pod door.
Yeah, that
Not
was
that easy.
I have to say it was interesting to see, because since they are using so much power, which is explained there, that they use so much power, and they've been gone for a while, so they must have used a lot of power getting back to the ship. I just wondered how that would have worked.
Dude, we covered this as the Force, man.
yeah.
They're not
They're
Leia.
not chargers now, Tom. Come on, like they plugged themselves in USB-C. They're fine.
Yeah, you're questioning the fabrication and the engineering of the metal they're covered in. It's like, what am I, a metallurgist? I'm like, we don't know. It's Hollywood, baby.
Exactly. Hollywood makes it work. See, yeah, you're right.
I don't want to watch a movie about charging stuff that's charging and electricity. Okay. If you pitch that, Tom, that's going nowhere.
Yeah, but is that a USB-C? Shit, no.
Okay, people, I got it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We know the plot of the next series.
Exactly. How those Dark Troopers get their power. But yeah, that's an interesting fact, because you said like to not to focus on that, because sometimes in his breakdowns we definitely do, but I think it's a term for the whole Star Wars fandom, I have to say. I heard this great quote. Basically, people ask, "Hey, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?" And if I have to say, I can't say myself, really. I mean, I would always say Empire Strikes Back, because that's my favorite in that way. But I basically love all of Star Wars. I don't dismiss there's like worse Star Wars and there's better Star Wars, obviously. But overall, it's a whole universe and everything that comes with it. And I think to focus on like the bad things or the details, I think it's a wrong way to look at things. But still doing this breakdown here, and but I just want
fun. It's fun to ponder the imponderables. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
But overall, like when it comes to like the fans are always seen as a problem in terms of, especially in Star Wars, when the sequel trilogy came out, like what they did with Kelly Marie Tran and stuff like that, and I think it's very interesting to look at this from his perspective, as seeing it as not 9 different movies, or how many movies how many are there? 10, 11, I think. And to look at it as 11 movies, more like, hey, it's one big thing. It's one universe.
It's one long epic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
it is one long epic, you know?
Yeah.
And I have some passing experience with toxicity and in various fan cultures, you know, and that sense that like, if I love it, then I own it, and I don't want anyone doing anything with it that I don't like, you know, and like that kind of attitude just really, that puts me off a lot. Like I feel like I can appreciate the Star Wars universe and its intricacies without feeling a sense of ownership of it. That you know, they need to answer my questions. Why did you do that? I didn't like that. And it's like that. They don't have to answer anything to us, you know. You know, it's the creation of an artist. You know, and not well, it was one artist. Now it's 100 different artists working on it in different capacities. You know, and they're just trying to tell stories. And if we demand them to only tell the stories the way we want them told, then we'll never get anything new and interesting out of it. So yeah, I mean, you know, when you talk about like the sequel trilogy and a lot of the grief it's been given for not being, you know, of the same fabric as the original trilogy, I feel like that's nonsense. You know, like they're trying to tell a new story. I don't want to see the same story again. That Star Wars film will always be there for me to go back to. I don't need it remade by somebody else. I don't need people to be honor it in everything they do and whatnot in the Star Wars universe. Like, no, do something new. I'm tired of the old. You know, like I can always go back and rewatch Empire Strikes Back. I don't need the Mandalorian to be faithful to that saga in any way. You know.
Yeah.
That's my rant.
Yeah, all good. For me, it's just be consistent in terms of the universe. That's the only thing I want. You know, story-wise, and that's important to me. But the rest, I want to see something new.
If we were, then we wouldn't have gotten Logan. You know what I'm saying? Like, hear me out here. Like, if we're faithful to the earlier film franchise, you know, and I think you could lump the Marvel films in terms of affection for a franchise. You know, like there are people as affectionate about X-Men and Avengers films as they are Star Wars. Like, if we're too faithful to the original films, the source material, it hobbles the ankles of the artists that are trying to contribute to it later.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but
if we were faithful to the original X-Men films, we never would have gotten films like Logan, which I think by anyone's measure was a fantastic film.
Yeah, it definitely was. But I think there's a difference in terms of because you've seen how I mean, let's compare it to Lord of the Rings, for example, because I think Lord of the Rings has this one universe. And for example, when this new TV show comes out for Amazon, I hope they're gonna connect the what we've seen in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, this kind of style and this kind of feel of it, to conclude basically in the same kind of style the stories that came before. That's all I'm asking, you know. So, and I think Logan is some sort of sense part of this whole X-Men universe, but in a different way. I mean, we have the style is different, and the style is more advanced and more modern, I would say, and tells more of maybe art house kind of story-ish. And I think that is for me most interesting.
When you're comparing it to Lord of the Rings, though, that it's not quite apples to apples, because
I know.
film franchise was Peter Jackson's from start to finish, right? So that's one whole contained story by one director through the entire thing, you know. But when you're talking about Star Wars, I mean, how many different directors and storytellers have they brought on? It hasn't just been George Lucas the whole way through, and we tried that. Like they brought, you know, George Lucas made his prequel films, so you've got the exact same director, you know, and the same creator working on the property he created originally, and people were still disappointed by what he did with it. You know what I mean?
You're totally right. You're totally right. I give you all that. I just want, you know, but in the end, even though we had different directors, different storytellers, and even beyond the movies, because I'm a big expanded universe fan, and sorry, the legends content as well, and I think they did a good job connecting that and making other stories from other people and other parts of the universe accessible, and that it made sense to me. And for me, for example, I have to say that the Palpatine return story, I mean, it was explainable to some degree, maybe, but I think it is like pulled by its hairs, you know. It hasn't been like thought through the whole time, and I think that's my problem. And
yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with them bringing him back. I had like they brought Boba back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That guy got thrown down a Sarlacc pit. You're not supposed to be able to survive that. Darth Maul got hacked in half and thrown into space. You know what I mean? Like, and yet he came back. You know, so I think with Palpatine, there was just a sense that like it was very, like you said, it was thin. Their reasoning behind his survival was really thin. They could have been written better. You know.
Yeah, and how they like included everything, like being like the grandfather of Rey and stuff like that. I think that was, you know.
Yeah.
But I think like that kind of stuff comes about because fans and their reaction because of the ownership problem that Rory was saying. Like after we had Last Jedi, I think Disney or decision makers got a bit nervous and started then to think about, okay, what do the fans want? And that's when you start losing the creativity in the filmmaking process. And that's why we kind of ended up with these paper thin plots that we or threads that we saw in the last film.
Yeah.
Just put it in the hands of the director. And
I mean, James, where do you fall on Last Jedi? I see the poster behind you. Are you a fan?
it's grown on me massively.
Yeah.
I don't really like the Canto Bite stuff so much.
No, neither do I. Yeah.
But by the way, by the
But
way,
I liked
applaud
how
the risk.
Luke was treated. Like, I absolutely do. I think Rian Johnson as a filmmaker is excellent.
fun little fact, by the way, I actually was in Canto Bite.
Oh, it's your fault, Tom.
No, I was not in the scene. I have been to the casino planet because it's in Croatia. It's in Dubrovnik, where they filmed most of the King's Landing of Game of Thrones. But they also filmed the Canto Bite stuff there. And when I was there, you can go down like an old town there, and then they have you can see there's a couple doors which are like the Star Wars doors. They still have it from the set there, and they still use it and like advertise it. Hey, Star Wars has been made here, so that was kind of fun to see, though.
Yeah, I think that the film, for all its flaws, like I won't defend some of the odd choices, that Last Jedi made, but where it thrived over Abrams' two films, it was that it did some wild, weird crap, that I thought made Star
Something
Wars
new,
interesting
right?
again. Yeah, made it interesting. The same way Empire Strikes Back went in a lot of weird places and directions, unexpectedly after A New Hope. And that's why we all look back now and everyone's like, oh, Empire Strikes Back was the best,
Yeah,
I do think one
totally
day
agree.
people are going to look back much more kindly on Last Jedi, than they did when it was first.
People are really like, and the prequels as well. You have people now who grew up with the prequels and love them. That's their Star Wars, and people were like, "Oh, Hayden Christensen's going to be appearing." Yes, and 10 years ago, people were like, "Oh no, not Hayden Christensen."
Oh, and there's a whole generation of people who love Rey, who just think Rey is Luke Skywalker, is the new protagonist, and I get it. You know what I mean? She became a monolithic new character of her own for this generation, so she's part of the universe now, she's Luke Skywalker of that generation.
Yeah, and that's what they always wanted to make movies for a certain age of people.
Yeah.
Okay, coming back to
we went on a wild divergent there. Yeah,
it's all good. It's all Star
That's
Wars.
why we had these conversations.
It's all Star Wars.
Yeah,
exactly. And coming back to our episode, we have the hammer drones hammering through the door, which was kind of like fun to see, and then we have some beeping on the scanners. Ooh, look, it's an X-wing, and I love the funny joke by Cara Dune saying they sent one X-wing, and I was like, well, something has to happen because little Grogu's ears started to move, and I think that was something cool to see because we have something going on. We see one person with a cape walking down the hall. Did you guys think that was the person that we definitely should have seen? That that was the ultimate thing, that it was Luke, or did you think somebody else was coming?
What do you think, James?
I've been increasingly thinking it was going to be Luke. I don't know why. I can't really put it down to anything. I thought originally it was going to be Ezra, because a lot of the characters we've been seeing coming into the series from like the TV shows that Dave Filoni's had like a lot to do with. And I was kind of not really on board with it being Luke. but as I'm sure we'll discuss, like I think they handled it
Yeah,
perfectly.
we're gonna get there when we're gonna see the face, basically. Rory, did you think at this point that this is Luke?
No, I thought, well, like I said, the first time I'm watching something, I'm not anticipating much. You know
What-
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I hadn't.
What did you think before?
No. I mean, like, even when the X-wing showed up, it didn't occur to me that could. It just never occurred to me that they would ever bring one of the OGs in the Mando like that. You know what I mean? Like, I thought when I saw the robe from behind in the first shot of the figure, I thought it was going to be Ahsoka Tano because of the connection she already had to Grogu from earlier in the season. I thought, well, she must have heard the call, and she's not going to let this little guy fall into danger. So that was my first thought, but that didn't last very long because then I saw the hilt.
Yeah,
You know?
and the glove and the
Yeah,
other hand
then it was
non-glove.
just like-
And, it all made sense.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah. Also, before we're gonna see some, we start to see some cutting down action, which is pretty cool. Some force push, some force pull, some lightsaber stuff, and But then in on the bridge, some stuff happens because we've seen Gideon hiding a blaster, and Gideon is trying to shoot the child. The Mando jumps in front of it, saves it again. Gideon is probably, I don't know, is he scared because that's why he tried to off himself? Is he scared of what he've heard about Luke Skywalker?
No, Moff's not afraid of anything. I think that I think he knows too much, and he realizes that he would be, a liability to the Empire if he were to be caught. So, like any operative who swallows the cyanide pill.
But why didn't he have the one the Titus Welliver character had in the Bo-Katan episode?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you're right. Why didn't he?
Probably
if he
thought
knew he
too
was
much
such
of
a-
himself. Like he.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. Never thought he'd get caught. Thought he was too clever for that.
Okay.
He's got the dark saber, isn't he? It's like, I'm fine
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah, but not
But yeah,
anymore.
I don't think he was afraid of Luke. I don't think he even knew it was Luke at that moment.
But they said Jedi. It was a Jedi, so I don't know.
He knew it was a Jedi, but
he probably he doesn't know that many Jedi. There's only this one Jedi who basically destroyed the Death Star twice, killed the Emperor.
But he's holding a friggin' lightsaber. It's not like he's unprepared. You know what I mean? And he knows how to wield it. I mean, he took on Mando, and Mando is meant to be, I mean, not as capable as a Jedi, but he can hold his own.
The Beskar.
So, yeah, the Beskar's doing it all.
A Jedi and Beskar, that would be it, huh?
Total side note, but in that episode where he was in the previous episode where he was in the refinery,
Yeah.
and he was wearing the trooper armor, and it started shattering on
Yeah,
him,
yeah,
and the way he was rubbing all of his wounds, like he had no idea what it felt like to actually be hit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you softy.
Yeah, we touched upon that last week as well. Yeah, that was like fun to see that he kind of knows. Hey, I'm not that protected without my Beskar.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really interesting. And there's one fact in the Legends universe. We have the Ben Solo character is called Jason Solo at this point, and he has a sister, and his sister puts on, because she is in contact with some Mandalorians, and the Mandalorians give her some Beskar armor, and so she can face Darth Caedus at this point, which is Jason Solo at this, like his real name is Jason Solo, and then she faces off with her lightsaber and a Beskar suit against Jason. So
How does he do against the Beskar? Who wins that fight?
What do you think?
Beskar wins.
Beskar wins.
Beskar wins.
Beskar wins.
Although I have
So never
problems
bet
with that.
against Beskar, Rory. You know that.
I do. I'll tell you why. And this has been my problem since Boba. Like I'm a big fan of medieval and Renaissance arms and armor.
Yeah.
I collect a lot of books. It pops up in my art a lot, and the engineering of that armor was far ahead of its time, and partially because they understood the vulnerability of failure points, in joints, and in battle, Yeah, like they always knew, go for the neck, go for the armpit, go for the groin, go for behind the knees, go for these failure points. So armorists were always trying to figure that out and tackle that problem by building taller gorgets and, layers of chainmail and whatnot, But when you look at Mando and Boba and all the Beskar they're wearing, like this failure points all over there. Basically, he's wearing just like a dinner plate over his chest. You know what I mean? And some nice cuffs. And it's like, man, you just go right for the armpit on that guy. Problem solved. He's got that exposed neck all the time. I'm like, I just have a problem with
exposed sticking out stomach now as well. Like his stomach literally sticks out.
Yeah. Boba's got this giant, tummy.
There's a target on it, like.
Yeah.
But they got meat
hanging out the bottom. Like it's just,
they got mithril underneath.
Yeah, that's what we're led to believe.
Okay.
just putting Lord of the Rings in here. Okay. Then I love the scene when Grogu touches the screen. Like we have a lot of touching in the end, and I think there was like the moment of him seeing, hey, I know this guy, and feeling this moment was kind of like heartwarming to me. And then we have Luke coming up the elevator, which was oh my god. I love the way when he comes out and like stands there with his lightsaber and force pushes somebody away, pulls another one, slices him in half, and then the last one,
that one guy just
force crush. That was pretty dope. And
he learned that from his dad.
Yeah, it was a lot of remembrance of the Vader Hall scene that we have in Rogue One. Did you guys feel the same way in that they had to make this connection?
Yeah, I felt they did.
Okay, James, you also on board?
Yeah, totally. I don't know if it was because of the great reaction that Vader scene had that they did this.
I think
possibly. So. But it works well.
Yeah,
works really well.
Okay.
It was just so good. The way they did it was just seeing it through a lens as well, like cutting to the TV screen to see some of it happening.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like that was a really neat little trick.
Yeah.
One to kind of like hide the fact that you would notice if it was Luke or not, and so they wouldn't have to do any de-aging or anything like beforehand, and just to give it some distance, like, oh, who is this mysterious figure? And a lot of them wouldn't have seen Jedi either, so we're kind of seeing it from their point of view, like we're part of the Mandalorians, and like this is a mysterious figure on the screen that we've never really heard about. Like Mando's only ever seen Ahsoka, to see this figure kind of like absolutely killing it, like from a distance. I don't know. I think it was just done perfectly. Really.
Especially after the thrashing he had just gotten at the hands of one of those troopers, to now see one guy just moving through them like they were paper tigers.
Yeah, they can. He can, as he says, he can protect the child.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really interesting. I love the part like when he reveals his face, and that was really interesting. And it's actually Mark Hamill credited there, and he's done also the speaking parts, obviously, and just de-aged somebody else with a face. But I thought, because I wasn't sure for a second if they've used Sebastian Stan. That's why I had to wait for the.
I thought about that last night. It would have been awesome if they would have used Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, I hope for it a little bit, I have to say. But
I thought they were, just because of the Winter Soldier connection to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I'm like, why wouldn't they just bring him in for this? But
Mark Hamill actually gave his blessing to Sebastian Stan that he should do it. So
yeah.
When I watched this kind of quite far away from the TV, and I couldn't work out, like, it looked like a human to me, and I was like, oh, they got Sebastian Stan, and then I was like, oh no, I don't think it's Sebastian, but it looked like a human to me, and it's only like when I've gone back and seen like 4K screen grabs and stuff and things like that, it's like, oh yeah, it is computer. And
how do you guys feel about the CGI, by the way?
I was disappointed.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. I have an 85-inch 4K that I watch it on, and for a cinematic experience, and it was very obvious right away that technology still has never really. They still haven't been able to crack that nut, in my opinion, and it took me out of the moment. I would have rather they just cast a lookalike in the role, you know, and there's precedence for it. They've done it in other films. Like when you saw, I don't know if you saw Doctor Sleep at all, but bringing in other performers to play
for Jack Nicholson.
Those, yeah, you know, and all the characters in that film that they brought back from the first one. It didn't take me out of the moment when they did that. I preferred that to the CGI. So yeah, but that's just my opinion. And I get that, like, you know, true fans would have been furious if they would have brought anybody else to play that role, any other stand-in, you know.
Yeah, but just Sebastian Stan would have been the perfect choice, I think.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I think so. I have to say I wasn't. For me, it wasn't that bad. I have a 65-inch OLED TV, so it looked good on my part. I was okay with it with Dolby Vision, so it looked fine. But
yeah, I mean, it's not a buzzkill when you see Jason and the Argonauts and you see those skeletons all rickety climbing up the mountain. Like, people knew back then that it wasn't realistic looking, but they accepted it because it was where the technology was at that time. So that's just where we are right now. You know, maybe they'll crack that nut, maybe they won't, but it's the best they've got. So, you know, I take it for what it is.
Yeah. And yeah, we have then we have this kind of really interesting moment that basically Din says, "Hey, he doesn't want to go," and then Luke tells him like the whole thing. He protects him, everything, and he tells him, "Hey, he wants your blessing, basically." How do you feel in that moment, in this father-son relationship, James?
I cried.
Same here.
Yeah, I mean, every week we do the little parenting. We pick up on the parenting moments, don't we? So I don't know. It just seemed to. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he said it just didn't affect him at all. He said that.
I have to say,
it all seemed really rushed. Like the fact that last week he took off his helmet, and now I'm expected to believe that it's okay. And it's like, no, it's been build. It has been building, like, subtly over time.
And to the helmet, I want to come in a second. But there was a lot of people, or like I read on the internet, that the way they treated Luke, that they cried because of that. I had to say I cried because the bonding moment between father and the son, and this is the Star Wars universe. It's a story of family, and this is a family. And I think there was so much Star Wars in that moment that it just overwhelmed me. Rory, how was it for you?
I mean, yeah, no, it's everything that both of you guys just said. I was really affected by it. I was heartbroken. It was heartbreaking. It was sad, you know, like, and it's Baby Yoda, man. How are you gonna say goodbye? I mean, he's Grogu, but I mean, culturally, like, we all love him.
I was watching with the little guy. He was next to me on the couch.
I've got mine right here off camera. Hold on. I've got my little Grogu right here.
Hey.
There you go.
How can there be two? Tom, there's one at yours and there's one at...
Hey,
what's going on?
Come on. I talked to Dr. Pershing. He got me some clones.
What sort of witchcraft is this? Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, we realized that they were actually going to have to say goodbye, and it was all hitting Din all in a single moment. Like, oh my God, like, this is happening, you know?
I think there's this moment where he takes off his helmet, and like where he puts like his hand first on the helmet and he takes it off. It was like there was such a remembrance of Vader wanting to taking off his helmet to see his son with his own eyes. And I think even thinking about this gives me goosebumps to see that, having this kind of feeling, having Luke actually in the room to see that, it was just incredible.
And it was a well-earned emotional beat for the viewers. It felt right that, like, it was Luke. You know, you're not handing this kid over to Ahsoka, a character we're just meeting. It, like, Luke is was sort of the father of everyone in those stories. You know, like, he's Luke. Like, if you can trust your kid with anyone, it's going to be him. You know, like, it just felt right. You know, but tragic, bittersweet.
Yeah, and this whole moment of the pain he feels, but also the responsibility he has for his son, basically, and like giving him to Luke because they know what's best for like both of them, they are the adults in this case. They know what's best for this child because he doesn't know. He's not that self-aware in that sort of sense. And I think that was a really interesting choice of doing it this way.
I think Grogu kind of he kind of in a way like realizes that that's who he is deep down, is he's when he senses the Jedi and things like that. That is his identity, part of. But there's obviously been like huge attachment, and the fact that he asks for his blessing. I think that's a really touching little little
well, and Ahsoka brought it up, the danger of Grogu's attachment to Din, and that like that could be a weak point for him, that could become a real danger, and I knew back then that like, this isn't going to end well. They're going to have to separate. They're already hinting at it here that like this relationship isn't meant to last. I
thought it was going to be season 3 that they actually took them apart though. Like,
God, I hoped.
Like marketing machine, like for what? And
just prepared. No, I wasn't prepared for this, man.
Then we also see an old friend of ours, which is R2D2, and he kind of seemed like to know Grogu. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think he did?
Yeah, I think so. I think Grogu knew him too. Like they very directly seem to interact as though they had met before.
Yeah, I mean he's been hanging around since like Annie was when he was training, So, and Grogu must have been around, so that's kind of interesting to see. And then we have like this last look of the gang looking out, and also by the way, which we didn't touch upon, like that Din is basically throwing everything out of the window, or it's like growing in the sort of sense that this cult, the watch he was in, that it's not important. The bonds that we form, they are important, and I think that's a great message from this as well. But having the gang looking at Luke and Grogu and R2 leaving the place, and one last look down the elevator, there was just a moment. It kind of like hurt my heart as well, like seeing this elevator door close, and probably that we're not gonna see him again. Because I don't know, like going to the temple is probably not possible in that sort of sense.
Yeah, it felt like I had the rug pulled out from under me. Like like the original trilogy was. I don't know how old you guys are, but I remember seeing Return of the Jedi in the theater.
Not that old.
I saw it in the drive-thru with my dad when I was very young, but I remember it being magical and all that. And I remember being sad that it was the last one, and I didn't feel that way again until last night, even after all the other movies we'd seen, because something about these two seasons seen together, like it had a resonance emotionally with me that I guess I haven't had since the original trilogy. And then all of a sudden last night it ended, and I wasn't prepared, and it's like I'm not ready to stop seeing these two together. Like I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah,
100%. And the way that they kind of they did make this feel like it was the end of
an era,
something. Like it's not like they've given this and then they end the episode in the usual way, and then next season you might see Grogu again. It definitely felt like this is the end of that particular arc. Here are the credits and stuff, and then the post credits.
It didn't feel like a cliffhanger. It wasn't a cliffhanger.
No,
it was real.
Mean, questions were open, but the Grogu stuff definitely is not a cliffhanger here. But I want to talk about the post credit scene. I mean, which was really interesting, and we see Jabba's palace, which is like really great to see. I recognized right away, and you can see the twin suns before, of course. Then we have the view of Bib, like a gained weight Bib Fortuna, which was like, oh man, he's turned into Jabba slowly but surely. That was
COVID, man. We all put on that COVID weight.
Yep. And then Fennec Shand comes in, takes care of it, and then Boba follows right after, pointing his E3, I think E3 blaster or E11 blaster. I always can't remember. Yeah, pointing it at Bib Fortuna, pulling the trigger without saying a word, and Bib Fortuna basically beforehand just talking in Huttese, Boba, I heard the rumors. You're not dead, but okay.
Didn't he say McClunky?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Say what?
Yeah, he said McClunky, right?
Yeah, McClunky,
you hear
exactly. They put a McClunky in there, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, McClunky is not happening for me though, but it was fun to hear. And then in the end, I love that, like, this basically last look you have. Fennec Shan sitting at the side of the throne, drinking some spatchka, and Boba sitting there. And basically, what I just what came to my mind was all hail King Boba. And I think that was really cool to see. How do you guys feel about this post-credit scene? And by the way, and then they announced that it's called The Book of Boba Fett. And since we had a lot of chapters, like book chapters so far, I wonder if it's going to be The Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1, Season 3. So, but yeah,
James, what's your opinion?
I wouldn't like to say. It can go anyway. It might be that they sprinkle some episodes into the Mandalorian season. I really don't know, because they said there was an event series coming or something, didn't they, at the Disney release thing?
Yeah, basically like the Avengers type of stuff.
I don't know how they're going to do this. Like, I wouldn't want to second guess it, but it seems like with that final scene, those two there, it seemed like they were going to make something of it with these two characters, and it'd be interesting for sure. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't kill off Boba Fett as well, by the way. Like, some people were thinking that might happen. I was like,
yeah, I was thinking that.
No, to bring someone like that back, not fill in that much information, and then kill him off would have been just like, oof.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought he's gonna hold on maybe for a little bit longer and like travel with Din and like teach him what he knows, and then at some point he's gonna get killed off, and Din is gonna inherit the Slave One.
I just want to know mouth or ass. I'm telling you this, like, the last time we saw him, he was thrown into a Sarlacc pit. How'd you get out? Mouth or ass? There's only two ways in and out of the thing, you know what I mean? Or I want to know.
Yeah, this is what happened actually, and I think that's hinted on in chapter 9, the Marshal with the Krayt Dragon. Krayt Dragon went in, ate the Sarlacc, ate the Sarlacc, and lived in the place where the Sarlacc used to live. And now, basically, he ate the Sarlacc. Boba's still in there, and see there, the Mandalorian got out. Din Djarin got out. So how about Boba getting out?
I don't know. That seems like it seems easier to just go out the butt.
But where does the butt go?
We don't know. I mean, it's a pit, so I mean, like, probably just comes out the other end of Tatooine or whatever. I mean, like,
on the other side of the planet.
I don't know. I think that I'm wondering if they're going to go anthology style with The Mandalorian, where season 3 will be entirely the journey of Boba. You know, there's been a lot of speculation over the past 24 hours about that. You know, is this a new series that's also premiering in the same month as season 3 of The Mandalorian? Yeah. Or is this season 3 of The Mandalorian that they're hinting at, that we're done following Din for a while and moving into this story? I mean, it seems unlikely that they would have 2 Star Wars series dropping at the same time,
exactly,
both featuring 2 different Mandalorians, you know.
But I wonder in that term, I mean, we have a lot of questions open with what happens to Din. Is he going to honor his deal? Is he going to go to Mandalore and help to free Mandalore? Is he going to be the ruler? Is he going to be the Mandalore? And like with the Darksaber, is he gonna lose in battle at some point to Bo-Katan? Yeah. What's all happening with that?
And they dropped a lot of questions into the finale, and you know that certainly intentionally to clue us in that we're not done following him. Like you said, the Darksaber in the battle with Bo-Katan that's going to have to happen. He even directly says to Grogu, like, we will see each other again. Emphasis on the will. Like, we're not done yet, you know. Yeah. We're just taking a break.
He's going to visit a temple.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna see
Get
Kylo.
out quick.
We're gonna see Kylo and
Ooh,
and
are we gonna see young Ben?
what we have here. This is what's gonna happen. We're gonna see Din is gonna go after Kylo and the Knights of Ren because they killed Grogu at the temple when the temple burned, and then he has to fight.
Pure speculation. That's wild speculation.
Fight the Knights of Ren, and he's gonna die against the Knights of Ren.
You have no evidence to support this story.
No, this just
That is a boastful, wild claim. I won't hear it.
It's campfire stories.
James, what do you think's going to happen? How do you think Din and Grogu are going to see each other again? And do you think they're going to?
I think there's going to be a galaxy-wide pandemic, and they're probably going to see each other on Zoom sometime.
Yeah, socially distanced.
Yeah.
Over the
Come on,
holidays.
he's got the
That's next
helmet. What are you talking
Christmas
about?
He can just press a button. He's got Zoom right there. Like, that's fine.
Are you interested in seeing the Book of Boba Fett? Like, were you tantalized and titillated by that, or were you ambivalent?
I'm slightly ambivalent, although I do have questions about the Boba Fett in that period, like where he lost his armor. He didn't go back for his armor, like supposedly, even though he knew who had it. There's questions about Boba Fett.
Why did he go back now?
Yeah. But I also really like the actress. What's her name again?
Ming-Na Wen.
Yes. So if we get to see more of her stuff, then that's great, because I was gutted when she apparently had one episode in the last season and then died.
Well, technically, she was gutted.
Question is,
I mean, if we're being
literal.
We're both gutted.
By the way, do you think he had his armor still at this point when he saved her? Because the boots, he still had the boots. But we hear the boots also when the marshal steps in.
Well, she does say that he directly saved her, so we know that that was him in the boots at that moment. So
yeah, but
I don't know.
Yeah, the question is if he still had his armor. That was the question. So yeah,
maybe it's just a goof, you know.
I think he just likes he bought some boots, those similar boots. They were just the Spurs that he liked.
They were very comfortable.
They were great. He loves Spurs, like jingly jangly Spurs.
Okay, so last question here. How do you guys like this season overall? What is your thoughts on this season and on the Book of Din Djarin?
James, you go first. Let me think about this.
Should I go first?
Tom, you go first.
Oh, I'll go first. Okay, I have to say, after different talks about the last episode, I really enjoyed the last episode very much in terms of Star Wars themes and what they did, and like all this. Even though we can say fan service with Luke because a lot of fans wanted this very bad. I had a very good time and I enjoyed it. And I think it's my second favorite episode. I really enjoyed Ahsoka's episode much more. That was my favorite from this season. And overall, in this kind of book that I think is closed now, the Book of Grogu, I guess, it has been done very well, and I enjoyed the first season very much. I loved the storytelling. I was excited every week to see something new. I love to see how the world expanded, and it's one of my favorite Star Wars parts in the Star Wars universe. So definitely will have a couple of rewatches of this one and enjoy it again and again. So, James, you have something?
That's far more eloquent than anything I could say.
Don't sell yourself short.
In terms of the episode, it is probably my favorite episode of The Mandalorian, season 1 and 2. I really like the last one of season 1 as well. Like Taika kind of just put his stamp on that, and it was fantastic. Overall season, it's it's just been something to look forward to constantly. I still think there's a lot to be said for releasing things week by week and having that moment that you can look forward to and talk to other people about. And there seemed to be the general feeling that everyone was kind of loving The Mandalorian. There were way more like hits than misses in this. Like not too many people had anything to complain about. They've somehow unified a lot of angry people, like a pretty toxic fan base, which is quite an achievement. I'll miss it. Basically, that's what I'll say about it. Is that I know when something's affected me because I'm really going to miss it. Like next Friday, there isn't going to be an episode to turn on and watch and catch up.
And no bounty puck.
Indeed, no bounty puck. That's the worst thing, Tom.
Okay, Rory, you're quite some time now. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm just hearing what both of you are saying. I agree on all points, and I think season 2 was just I think they proved themselves on season 1, so they were able to do more in season 2. Certainly in the budget. I mean, you saw, them doing bigger things, and so that the episodes felt more cinematic to me, which I really liked, because that's such a big part of the Star Wars universe is that cinematic scope, visually, and of the stories they tell. And like you said, James, like I'm gonna miss it. I've got soft spots for a couple different, like I saw Return of the Jedi with my dad, and that was a great memory. I remember seeing Force Awakens with a bunch of buddies, and we all really enjoyed that. We had a great night. It was right before Christmas or whatnot, and and we all left, chattering about what are they going to do next, and so on. And and the Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, I think, are going to be, epic. I think it's going to be the benchmark that they look back to, especially after this Disney Plus press conference where they, unrolled all these new titles. They're going to be coming out over the next couple of years. I think they're always going to look back and reference how they're trying to capture that Mandalorian season 1 and 2 feel, and really capture everyone's, imaginations with the new series the same way. So, and I wasn't, like I said to James's point earlier, I wasn't ready to say goodbye to Din and Grogu together. I'm still not ready for that. Like those were great tales, and their interaction together was all the feels, man. I just wasn't ready to say goodbye to that. So I'm really, really sad that they decided to end that so quickly. But, I guess it makes these seasons really special. So.
Okay, I think those are some really great words to finish out this season of The Bounty Puck. And I will see you all next year, so stay tuned. We might have a special because I talked to Christian Alsman, one of the concept artists, and we have just to hear back from Lucasfilm and their PR department if we can do some stuff about that. But we will keep you informed, obviously, on the channel. And we'll be very happy to follow us on @DropMacOfficial on Instagram, and obviously follow Rory Kurtz @Rory Kurtz on Instagram and other social medias for great art. Also, in terms of Mandalorian, is there going to be a season 2 poster, Rory?
You're goddamn right. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what I wanted to hear. Alrighty. Thank you, guys. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.